Right now we're going to do the second segment of pre-swing, our first essential. Last time we did grip and posture, and if you haven't seen that, just look on reynoldsgolfacademy.com to see that other segment. This segment is on ball position, stance width, and alignment to the target. So ball position is kind of an interesting thing. A lot of us have heard, we should have one ball position and that makes it more consistent. And then some of us heard, well, that doesn't make sense because you can't have one ball position for a driver and the same ball position for your wedge. And so they move the ball around. And so it would seem that those two things are contradicting each other. But actually, they do the same thing. And I'll show you what I mean. So if the ball is right here and it's, let's say, an inch inside my left instep. So if I get up with a driver and my stance is this wide, now the ball is pretty much straight across from my shoulder. Now let's say I'm going to hit a 5-iron, and now my stance went from here to here. The ball now is about where my logo is. Even though it hasn't moved relative to my foot, it's moved relative to what I'm swinging the club from, my upper body. And now let's say I get in here to hit a wedge shot. My feet are pretty close together. And now the ball is all the way back here near the middle of my stance. So wide stance, medium stance, narrow stance changes where the ball is relative to your upper body. The people who change ball position, what they're doing is they're basically keeping kind of a medium stance for all their shots, driver all the way to wedge. And so then they're moving the ball more forward for the driver and then more back for their wedge. So the main thing to remember is up here's what matters, because when you swing a golf club, the club is traveling down, 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 as long as you're not flipping your wrist, and finally right there under your left shoulder, that's when the club is straight up and down. And so if I want to hit more down on the ball, I want it more back of this lowest point, and if I want to hit level, I want it at the lowest point. If I want to hit up, I want it in front of the lowest point. So a driver, I want level to slightly up, and then my irons, different degrees of down. So that's ball position, and hopefully that helps you understand a little bit of where that contradiction comes from. Stance width, I'm a big believer, and I don't like to see a stance this wide because I think it's too restrictive of you turning, and I don't like to see a stance that's too narrow because I think you lose stability. So somewhere between those two extremes, comfortable, solid stance is the width of stance we're looking for. And then the third thing is aim to the target, alignment. So we put a ball, and we're going to go toward that white flag. The most important thing to line up is the leading edge of the club face. So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to line the club face up first, and then we're going to line our body up parallel to that target line. So our body's not on the target line, so it doesn't line up at the target. It lines up parallel to the target, like a railroad track. So there's the right part of your railroad track going to the flag. There's the left part of the railroad track going left of the flag. And when you practice, you should put a couple of clubs on the ground. And that helps you get accustomed to what it looks like when you're lined up to the target. For me, it still looks about 5 to 7 yards left with my body to be lined up correctly. And for you, it's going to be different for every person. So that's why we want to put these down, maybe get some feedback from a teacher. And that's how you really become good at the skill, the second part of the essential. So ball position, with the stance, and lining up to the target.